Hi students, Logan Phillips here. All right, today we're going to be talking about the Capstone projects. These are your final projects for the class. Now there are two of them for the Computer Concepts course, so I'm going to do one, I'm going to walk you through it, and then you should be able to accomplish the second one on your own using all the wonderful skills that you've actually learned throughout this semester. Give me 1 second to get set up here. All right, so the very first thing we want to do is let's log into our class. Now this may not be your specific class, but it is a Computer Concepts course that is ongoing right now. So let's go into our class and go into the left-hand side and look at our projects. Now we're going to scroll down to the very bottom and we're going to find our integrated projects. There should be two of them, Project 1 and Project 2. Now these projects will use every single application that we've taught during the course. And so let's go ahead and open up Project 1, get our resource file and our instruction file, and of course our start file. So we're going to download our instruction file. I'm using Windows. I'm going to download my start file, and I'm going to download my resource file. Now I'm going to go ahead and open up these three. So open up one, and then we're going to open up the PowerPoint, and we're going to show in folder the integrated file. Now the very first thing you need to do with this integrated file is to move it to your desktop and decompress it. If you see a zipper on this file, you're not going to be able to use it. So let's go ahead and open it up and just move it to our desktop as well. Okay, so we can close that down. Now we got our popcorn, our topped corn presentation here opened up. We're going to go ahead and say OK. We're going to enable editing. Now at this point, I'm jumping through some steps that you should already know how to do. If you've done the projects throughout the class, you should know how to download and install the resource file. You should know about the enable and editing. So we have a few different resources here inside of our resource file. Notice it's no longer zippered. We have November sales, which is an Excel document. We have top corned outline, which is a Word document. And we have the access database, which is a database we'll be using and modifying. So let's just move that over. So let's go ahead and open up that instruction file to start with. I think it was here. And integrated file. Here we go. So this is a little bit different manual than you've seen before, but you can see that we'll be creating a real world, something you'll actually do inside a business or whatnot using a bunch of different applications. So this is a real application of all the skills. This can be used outside in your job to prove value to your companies. You see a list of skills that we're going to be using. These are all the Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, Access, Word, PowerPoint, Excel skills. And then we get into our steps. Now remember that I am using a split screen system, so I'm going to move my instruction file to one screen and you will not be able to see it. Now I will read out what step I am on, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4B, whatever, so you can follow along. So let's go ahead and move my instructions over. I'm going to close this file down where I opened it from, and I'm going to open up onto step 1, and we're going to open up the integrated project 1 in Protect View Enable Editing. So let's go ahead and open that up. There we go. We have our name at the top, Integrated Project 1, and in PowerPoint. Okay, so we're going to open the start file. We've opened it up. We've hit the green or yellow Enable Editing button. You can see here we have a pretty simple, straightforward, topped corn PowerPoint. All right. You should see your name at the top in the middle. And we're going to go ahead and do a file, and we're going to save as, and we're going to put this onto our desktop. Now, the reason I'm putting this onto my desktop is just of ease of use. I want to be able to access it, upload it very quickly. So we're going to open up next the topped corn outline in the Word document. So let's go back to our desktop. We're going to minimize PowerPoint. We're going to open up that resource file, and we're going to open up the Word document for topped corn outline. Now we're going to import this Word document into our PowerPoint, but first we've got to make some modifications to it. First, we're going to apply the heading 1 style to all numbered items in the list. So I'm going to come up here to number 1, and I'm going to highlight the word overview and everything I can. I'm going to come up to the Home tab in the Styles grouping, and I'm going to choose heading 1. Now, because I'm lazy, I'm now going to use the Format Painter, and I'm going to double click on my Format Painter. That way I can use it multiple times. And see how it's locked into place, and I can actually come through and change all of my numbered lists into heading 1. Again, this was just a double click on the Format Painter, and you can see it holds down the button. And we're going to change all these numbered lists. I think that is it. All right, next, we're going to unclick the Format Painter, and I'm going to choose a heading 2 style on all the lettered lists. So let's go ahead and highlight founded in 96 in Washington, D.C. We're going to choose heading style 2. I'm going to double click my format painter, making sure the button is locked. And then I'm going to come through and change these all individually to a heading 2. Now you can actually go through and do all of them at once if you're up for it, but if you're not, do them individually so that it doesn't mess you up. And so now we have heading 1 for everything. Unclick our format painter. We have heading 2 on all of our lettered lists. And we are now on to step 3C. We're going to change the color theme for this document to orange red. So let's go ahead up to our design tab, and we can see the colors on the document formatting. We have colors, and we're going to choose orange red. Now, you're choosing orange red here in the Word document, not the PowerPoint sheet. So make sure you're doing it orange red here, because when we import it to PowerPoint, we're going to keep the formatting orange red. Next, on to step 3D, we're going to save the document with topped corn outline for import. So File, and we're going to do a Save As. We're going to choose our desktop, and we're going to name this topped corn outline for import. And hit Save. Again, I'm choosing my desktop for simple ease of use. And so let's go ahead and minimize this and go ahead and open up our PowerPoint again. So we have now completed step 4, our 3E, and we are on to step 4. And so we're going to bring our Word document into our PowerPoint by importing it as an outline. So we're going to come up onto our tab. We're going to see on the Home tab the New Slides button. We're going to hit our down arrow. And instead of using any of these new slides, we're going to come down to the very bottom, and we're going to choose Slides from Outline. And we're going to import the topped corn outline for import file, which if you're like me, you put on your desktop, and we have topped corn outline for import. And we're going to hit Insert. And see, I made a quick mistake. I did not close my document. I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to open up Word. You never know if I made a mistake because I want to show you something, or if I made a mistake because I just screwed up. So let's go ahead and close this out by hitting the X in the top right-hand corner. And let's go through that process one more time. Home tab, New Slide, radio button down, Slides from Outline. Find your desktop, find topped corn outline for import, and insert. Now it's going to take a second, and what you're going to find is now you have 10 slides on the left-hand side, and each of those heading 1s are now the titles, and the heading 2s are now the bodies for the PowerPoints. All right. And we verified we have 10 slides. We verified the heading 1s and heading 2s have worked. We verified that the title font on the import slides appears to be orange and red, and so that looks pretty orangish reddish to me. And next we're going to click on step 4D. We're going to select slide 2. So let's go ahead and click on slide 2, the overview slide, and we're going to click on the placeholder with the word overview. Now I'm not clicking the word overview. You see how my cursor is in place here. I'm going to click on the placeholder. So if you only have one cursor blinking between letters, you're wrong. Let's go ahead into the dotted line. We're going to click on it. Notice that the entire placeholder is selected, not the individual text. And we're going to change the font to Calibri and left align. So Home tab, font grouping. We're going to choose Calibri, which these should be in order. You can also type in the word CA and get to it. And we're going to choose left align, which is on the Home tab, paragraph grouping, and the left align is right there. Okay, we are now on step 4E. We're going to, with the title placeholder still selected, we're going to use our format painter. So like we did with the Microsoft Word document, I'm going to make sure my placeholder is selected, not my text. I'm going to double click on my format painter, making sure that it stays clicked. That's a nice verbiage there. Stays clicked and is highlighted. I'm going to come over to slide 3, and I'm going to do it on goals. Slide 4, slide 5, slide 6, 7, 8, 9, and finally slide 10. Now, since that's done, I can unclick Format Painter, and we can see that all of our words, our titles are in Calibri, and we can see that quickly by going to the Home tab in the font grouping. We can see them very quickly that they are laid out to the left, and so our Format Painter worked just fine. All right, we are now finished with step 4E, and we're going to go to step 5. And so we're going to open up the top corn cells database. So we're going to be working in Access now. Now, before I minimize this, I'm going to go ahead and save it. So I'm just hitting my left at the top of the screen, the save icon, and I'm going to minimize. Now, I'm going to go back to my resource file, which is on my desktop, and I'm going to open up the top corn cells database. Again, this is step 5. So we're working inside Microsoft Access now. So inside Microsoft Access, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to import the records from Excel in the resource file. Excuse me. All right, so we're going to open up the top scores. We've got them there. And we're going to import records from Excel file, November 4th through 10th cells. And we're going to append a copy to the records in the online cells table. All right, so next on step 5, we're going to import the records from Excel, November 4th through 10th cells, which is located in the data files for this project, and append a copy to the records of online cells table. And we have a hint here that there should be about 234 records, or exactly 234 records in the online cells table. So on the left-hand side, we have 3 tables. We have items, locations, and online cells. Now, a step that it's not being shown, excuse the pop-ups. This is finals week, and there's going to be lots of these things. So we're going to click on online cells. And next is where we're going to pull in from our external data. So with online cells selected but not opened, I'm going to come up to my external data. And I'm going to choose to import and link from a new data source. And I'm going to choose from a file and from Excel. And so if your screen's tiny, it might hide these a little bit, and it might just have the new data source, not the saved imports. But new data source, radio button from Excel. And this is, of course, import brings in, export sends out. So with this selected, we're going to import this and append it to online cells. So let's go ahead, import the source data into a existing table, or appending, and we're going to choose online cells. Next, we're going to hit OK. Oh, I'm sorry, first we're going to find the document. So let's go ahead and browse. Now I'm smart. I know I put it on my desktop, and I know it's inside that resource file. Let's see, there we go. And November 4th through 10th cells. And we're going to hit open. Append a copy to the records to the table online cells and hit OK. Now what you can see here now is first row columns is automatically selected. And we have all of our data, quantity, item IDs, and state. So let's go ahead and hit next. Import table with online cells and finish. And we're not going to save anything. We're going to hit close. So now we've done steps 5A, and next we're on step 5B. In the online cells table, we're going to open it up, and we're going to switch our views from design, so go to home tab, from datasheet view to design view. And we're going to change this field name from ID to cell ID. Make sure that you're spelling it correctly, no spaces, uppercase letters where it's supposed to be uppercase. So we've completed step 5B at this point. So let's go ahead and right-click it and save, just to make sure that's there. And we're going to create a query in the display of Old Boy flavored popcorn from Byers in Maryland, and then export the query results to an Excel file. So we have these tables. We're going to ask them a question, to put this in layman's terms, and then we're going to get the answer to our question, and we're going to send it out to Microsoft Excel. That way we can post it up into our presentation. So let's go ahead and close this online cells table. Since I've already saved it, it should be fine. And we're going to go ahead and include the following in this order: cell ID, date, quantity, and state. So we're going to go up to the Create tab. We're going to create a query, and I'm going to choose a query wizard because this is simple or quick. I'm going to use a simple query wizard. And from my tables, I want to choose which one? From the old... from Byers in Maryland. So first is the online cells table. So let's go ahead and click on online cells table. And we're going to include the cell ID first, the date, quantity, and state. We're leaving off the item ID. And then we are going to choose the item name from the items table. So let's change our table, choose items, and item name, and import that one as well. So you can see here, used a quick query wizard. I've chosen my two tables, the information, I have them in order. I'm going to hit next, and finish. So now I have a nice answer to my question. I now have a query, and we're going to modify this a little bit more. Okay, so step 6B, we're going to open up our query, and we're going to change the view from datasheet view over to design view. And so we're going to limit this query's answers a little bit here. We don't want everything in this. So in step 5 or 6B, we're going to choose item name is Old Bay. So let's go item name. We're going to type in Old Bay, making sure it's correctly spelled with correct punctuation and uppercase letters. The state is going to be MD. So if you put MD as lowercase, you're going to get 0 results. So make sure you're putting everything in correctly. And the date is greater than or equal to November 6, 2016. So we're going to do greater than or equal to November 6, 2016, and then I'm going to hit the enter button. Now what that's changed is automatically formatted it correctly. Now we can check this real quick by going up to our Query Tools Design tab and hitting Run. And you can see here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 records. All Old Bay, the states of MD, and everything's 11/6/2016 or newer. So the error that everyone makes here, if I go back to my design view, is they put a lowercase b or they put a lowercase md, or once they've entered in the date, they don't hit enter. So you have to do those 3 steps. Make sure the uppercase is Old and Bay, uppercase M and D, and then type in a greater than symbol, an equal symbol, type NOV, what was it, 6, comma, 2016, and then hit the enter button so that it automatically formats your query. And there should be 8 records, so if we run it again, we can see it very quickly. There are 8 records. All right, so we're going to return to the design view, and we're going to hide some fields. So let's go to design view, and you can see here the fields that are shown are the ones that are check marked. So we're just going to uncheck mark item name and state. If we run it again, we can now see that we have cell ID, date, and quantity. And then we're going to save this query as Old Bay MD query. So I'm going to right click on this, and I'm going to choose save. And I'm going to come over here to my left on my query wizard. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to choose rename. And it's open, so I forgot that. All right, so let's go ahead. We've saved it already. Let's exit the query only. Then right click on the queries, rename it, and we're going to rename it Old Bay. Making sure I've spelled things correctly. MD query. And hit enter. So now if we open it back up, we can see it's all saved. Now this is a little bit different than the program has told you how to do it, but I've been using Access long enough that I know sometimes it makes a mistake, and so I like to do it this way. Now we are on to step 6F. We're going to export this query's results into a new Excel file named Old Bay MD cells. So I have the query selected. Now I'm going to give you as a warning here. I'm going to say this word query a variety of different ways. I had a speech impediment growing up for 12 years, so I had to do speech therapy. And for whatever reason, this particular word, it just doesn't work. And so if I say query, or whatever the method I choose to say, just know this is what I mean. And try the best to follow along with me. And I do apologize. It's just one of those words I cannot seem to say correctly. All right, so we're going to select this query, the Old Bay MD query. We're going to come up to our external data, and we're going to choose to export. We're going to send this out. And so we're going to send it out to Microsoft Excel. We're going to browse. We're going to put this on our desktop. And we're going to name it Old Bay MD query cell, or MD cells. And so again, putting it on the desktop, simple for ease of use, and we're going to hit save. And we do not want to save with the, do not export the data with formatting. So we could have checked export data formatting. We do not want to do that. We're going to hit OK. And we don't want to save anything. Hit close. And we are now on to step 7. So we're almost halfway done with this project already. All right, so we're going to create a new query that displays the sale of truffled flavored popcorn, which personally sounds absolutely disgusting, with a quantity of greater than 6 from the online sales table. So let's go ahead and click on online sales. And we're going to go ahead and go to the home tab or the crate tab, and we're going to do a query from Wizard again. We're going to do a simple query, and we're going to start with the state quantity from the online sales table. So let's choose state and quantity. And then we're going to switch our tables over and to the items table. And we're going to choose item name. So we got 3 items here, state, quantity, and item name. We're going to hit next, next, and finish. All right, and we're going to start modifying this and restricting the results just a little bit. And we're going to choose quantities greater than 6. So let's go to our home tab. We're going to go to the views box, and we're going to choose the design view. And you can see here we have state, quantity, and items. And the very first thing is item name is truffle. So let's type in truffle, making sure that you do an uppercase T. Hit enter. And quantity is greater than 6. So no equal sign here. Greater than 6. And next, we're going to sort this query. And so we want it in a specific order. And we want it to be alphabetical by state. And so we're going to do to the sort menu. We're going to do the drop down. We're going to do ascending. And we'll double check that. Let's just run it real quick. Yeah, A, C, so it's in alphabetical order by state. Let's go back to our views, design views. And let's see. Sort of alphabetical by state, run the query to check your work. It should be 26 records. So let's go back and count. So we're on the Query Tools Design tab, Run button. Let's count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. So we have 26 records here. Now we could also came down to the bottom and saw that we are at 1 of 26. But we didn't do that. I want to make sure you counted them so that you're right. So we're back onto our design view. And we're going to save this query as high quantity truffle query and then close it. So let's go ahead and hit the right click on the sign. We're going to save. We're going to close. Then we're going to come over here to our query. Okay, we're going to choose the online sales query. We're going to right click it. And we're going to rename this, making sure that the query is closed. And we're going to name this high quantity truffle query. Again, make sure you spell everything correctly. And query is just QRY, not the full word query. And we're going to hit enter. And next, we're going to export this over to an Excel file. So let's go up to our external data tools. We're going to choose the export. We're going to have high quantity truffle query selected. And we're going to hit Excel. We're going to browse. We're going to put it on our desktop. And we're going to rename this the high quantity truffle sales. And hit OK. And hit OK. And for this one, we're not going to export formatting either. And OK. Close. All right. So let's go ahead and close any of our databases that are opened. If you have anything open in the middle, hit the bottom X. And then we're going to close the database project and exit access. So let's go up to the right-hand corner, hit X. And you can see here we now have on our desktop a few more pieces. We have the Old Bay MD cells, and we have high quantity truffle cells. So let's go ahead and open up the Old Bay MD cells Excel file we just created. Okay, we're working on step 8 now, and we're going to be modifying this Excel document. And so you can see here we have the Old Bay MD cells, the query, the information we pulled from our query, and we have sales date, quantity, and our first step in cell D1 is to put in total sales. In cell F1, we're going to type in price per box, and in cell C, or in G1, we're going to type $11. So $11. Now we're going to start modifying this to put in all of our formulas. We're going to go into 8D, and in cell D2, we're going to enter a formula to calculate the total sales. And I'm going to modify here. Price per box should not be in E, it should be in F. So there we go. Total sales is going to equal the cell C2 times cell G1. And then I'm going to come up here to cell G1. And I'm going to do an F4 to make this an absolute reference. Now I'm going to click on cell D2. I'm going to go to the bottom right hand corner, and I'm going to copy this formula down. So we're now through step 8C, 8D, and we're on to step 8E. I'm sorry, 8F. We're going to format the data in cells A1 through D9 as a table. So let's select cells A1 through D9. We're going to come up to our Home tab. We're going to do in the Styles grouping, Format as Table. I'm going to choose Medium, Blues, Table Style 2. Next, we're going to go up to our Date. We're going to sort this from newest to oldest. And we're going to start modifying some more information. We're going to click on cell or step 9 or 8H in cell F3. So we've got F1, F2, F3. We're going to type in average quantity. And in cell G3, we're going to do a average of cells C2 through 6-9. So equal sign, average, open parentheses, C2 through C9, close parentheses, and enter. Next, in cell F4, we're going to type in total sales, and we're going to do a new formula that does the sum of cells of D2 through D9. So equal sum, open parentheses, D2 through D9, and close parentheses. So next, we're going to modify these to be currency. And we're going to do cell G3. We're going to change this to a currency. And we're going to make sure in total sales on cell G4, we're also going to change that to a currency. Next, we're going to select cells A1 on step 8M through cells G9. And we're going to format this to a size 20 font. And we're going to change, make sure it's all in Calibri. And then we're going to select the columns A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. We're going to come to our Home tab. We're going to go to the Styles grouping, and Cells grouping. We're going to choose Format and Auto Fit Column Width. Next, we're going to save this document, and we're going to select cells A1 through G9, and we're going to copy it. Now I'm going to skip step 8P, and I'm going to go ahead and go into step 9s, and because if you close this Excel file, your Word or your copy will disappear. Now where necessary, we're going to change the text in the header row to bold, white, background 1. So here up on the price per box and $11, we're going to highlight them. We're going to come to our Home tab. We're going to choose bold, and we're going to choose a white font, background 1. So you can see my headers all match up now. All right, and now we can go back to our Excel file and go ahead and close it. So I changed my steps just a little bit between step 8P and 9D. I saved and closed the Excel file after I pasted everything in. So on step 10, we're going to open up the high quantity truffle cells. Before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and save my PowerPoint. I'm not closing it, I'm just saving it to make sure that I don't lose any work. We're going to open up the high truffle cells Excel file we created in step 7E. So let's minimize PowerPoint. We're going to open up the high quantity truffle cells, and we're going to modify this a little bit. And we're going to create a chart from the data. So we're going to go ahead and create a pivot chart from data. So let's go ahead, Insert tab, and we're going to insert a pivot chart. Our pivot table. And so let's go ahead and create a pivot table. We're going to select the range in data. It's already selected for us. And use the first only recommended pivot table. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, we're going to open up the high quantity truffle cells, which we've seen in Excel documents that we created in step 7E. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a pivot table. So with the pivot table or the document open, high quantity truffle cells, we're going to come up to our insert tab. We're going to choose to insert a recommended pivot table. And we're going to choose the first one that's recommended and hit OK. You can see here this created a whole new pivot table for us. And we're going to do a sum of quantity by state. And that should be what we're here, sum of quantity by state. Next, we're going to create a 2D pie chart from this pivot table data. So let's go ahead and go to Insert, and we're going to come over to the Charts grouping, and we're going to choose to do a pie chart, and we're going to do a 2D pie chart from the pivot table data. And we have the pivot table now created in the pivot table chart, and we're going to modify this chart a little bit to make it fit a little bit better with our styles. So we're going to first change and hide the chart title. So go to your plus symbol, and we're going to get rid of that chart title. Next, we're going to select the chart as a whole. We're going to come up to our Design tab of Pivot Chart Table Tools, Design tab, and we're going to choose the Style 8. Style 6, Style 7, and Style 8, which is on the Pivot Table Tools, Design tab, Chart Styles, Chart Style 8. Next, we're going to copy the chart. So let's go ahead and select the chart as a whole. We're going to hit Control and C to copy it. I am again not going to close my Excel file, but I am going to open up my PowerPoint. And I'm going to return to this slide return to slide 9. And I'm going to change the layout for slide 9 to title only. So layout, which is on the home tab, slides grouping, layout, title only. And we're going to paste the chart you copied from Excel, and we're going to keep the source formatting and embed. So we're going to choose in the blank spot underneath the title. We're going to right click, we're going to paste, and we're going to keep source formatting, which should be the second one. All right. Next, we're going to drag the chart down so it's positioned in the middle of the slide. So let's go ahead and select the subchart. We're going to position it down. And you can see my little pop-up menus. If you see the up and down little red dotted line, then you are directly in the middle of the slide. Let's go ahead and save this file. We're going to open up our Excel again. We're going to close this one. Go ahead and save it. And so now we have all of our steps completed. Our chart is in. We have 10 slides. We've inserted a table. With everything completed, we're going to go ahead and upload this document, see what we did right, what we did wrong. I'm going to go ahead and close my stuff down, saving anything that needs to be saved. I'm going to upload my file. And hopefully, if we've done everything correctly, we'll have 100% on this. And we got 100%. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, just let me know, and I'll walk you through it again. Have a very fruitful day, guys. Bye.